In 1978, two Texan church choir mates start an affair to escape their boring marriages. However, things go awry when one of them wishes to end the relationship. On the 13th of June 1980 in Wiley, Texas, someone sees bloodstains all over the bathroom. 2 years prior, on September 1978, Candy Montgomery sang in the Methodist church choir. Afterward, Candy and her choir mates have lunch outside the church, where they discussed Candy's husband Pat's singing voice. Candy became competitive when Allan Gore said they should focus on winning their church volleyball league instead. Before he could finish his thought, his wife Betty whispered that they should copulate soon, because she'll reach peak fertility at 1 p.m. Later in their bedroom, the couple made love stiffly, with Betty dictating how Allan performs to ensure pregnancy. Meanwhile, Candy played the piano with her daughter Jenny when Pastor Jackie Ponder arrived. Jackie admitted that her husband wants a divorce. The pastor was scared of leading the congregation interstate and, most of all, of being single again. However, Candy advised that she consider this moment an opportunity for a new beginning. Later that night, Betty expressed her disappointment with Allan because his new job made him travel often. However, her husband asserted he'd only be gone for 4 days, but she countered that she was in her peak fertility window during that period. Allan suggested that Betty shouldn't be stressing over it, but the latter tearfully argued that his traveling caused the stress in the first place. The following day at church, one of the council members announced why their favorite pastor was absent and explained her divorce, which upset Betty. Later that day, the Methodists played against the Lutherans in their volleyball game. Pat noticed that Betty was not participating and assumed she was pregnant. However, the assumption upset Betty, so Pat apologized for overstepping his boundaries. Meanwhile, Candy stumbled when Allan bumped into her, so he helped her up. He asked if she was alright, but she laughed it off. As they got back in formation, Candy pondered on their short encounter. After the game, Candy told her best friend Sherry Kleckler that Allan smelled virile, and she thought he liked her smell too. When she saw her friend's shocked reaction, Candy explained that the news of Jackie's divorce opened up another side of her. She added that Allan seemed too in love with his wife to ever have an affair with her, and that he's also physically not the type of guy she'd ever fall in love with. Days later, the Montgomery family watched Grease in the movie theater. However, Candy couldn't stop thinking about Allan. Soon, Candy attended a creative writing class, where one student read his poem and explained it was about the folly of materialism. Candy understood, stating everyone believes that they can change their lives by purchasing things. She then read aloud her poem about how her heart asked her not to give up. At home, Candy watched Pat mow the lawn. After choir practice one evening, Pat went home earlier than his wife. Candy then waited for Allan and chased after him before he drove away. After Allan allowed her inside his truck, Candy expressed her attraction to him, but the former seemed unfazed by the admission. Seeing his reaction, Candy immediately gets out of his vehicle. The following day at the playground, Candy recounted her confession to Sherry, where the latter questioned whether she was attracted to Allan or just wanted to be reckless. Candy admitted it's a bit of both since she's tired of the expectation that women should just be housewives. She then pointed out that their children are more alive than they are, as they're not afraid to take risks. Elsewhere, Betty reprimanded her daughter Alisa over her flashy outfit, calling it inappropriate. Betty felt that Allan was judging her for scolding their daughter, but her husband indicated he was unsure how to respond because he doesn't know what she wants him to say. At home, Candy asked Pat if he read her short story. However, Candy's aware that her husband hadn't read it, annoying her. The following day at work, Allan kept imagining Candy and pondered calling her. Allan later attended a choir meeting where they discussed the church getting a new facility, and he caught himself staring at Candy. After the next volleyball game, Allan and Candy walked to the parking lot, where the former asked her what exactly she wanted to happen between them. Candy let Allan inside her car and asked him if he'd like to have an affair with her. However, Allan declined, as he doesn't want to hurt Betty, even though she cheated on him before. Allan also stated that his wife just got pregnant and that he doesn't feel the same way as Candy. Candy understood, saying she just wanted to get her feelings out. However, Allan kissed her before exiting her car, leaving her baffled. The following day, Candy recounted what happened last night to Sherry. Her best friend argued that men always kiss other women, but Candy countered that Allan was waiting for her to make the first move, which Candy stated she'd never do. On Halloween, Allan accompanied Alisa and Jenny trick-or-treating. They walked over to Candy's house, where the kids went inside while Allan waited by the door and made small talk with the latter. As he left, Allan looked back at Candy one last time before he chased after his daughter. The next morning, Jackie went to Candy's house to greet her happy birthday and give her a cake. The pastor then informed Candy that she had accepted a teaching position in Wichita Falls, believing it was her new calling. Jackie reassured the shocked Candy they'll find a better pastor, but the latter thinks that'll never happen, especially because Jackie's her best friend. A phone call then interrupted them, so Candy answered it. She was pleasantly surprised to hear Allan, who wanted to invite her to have lunch with him tomorrow. Afterward, Candy admitted to Jackie that she was planning to have an affair with somebody. The two argued about cheating, with the pastor stating it never ends well. However, Candy asserted that she's been a good wife and deserved a reward, and Jackie realized that the former is adamant about pursuing the affair. The following day, Candy met Allan at their rendezvous point, where the latter gave her a greeting card. They then had lunch, where they talked briefly about Jackie when Candy asked what else they should discuss. Allan admitted that he's never done this before because he was afraid he'd hurt Betty, and wished not to get emotionally involved with her. Candy shared the same sentiments, stating she only wanted to enjoy herself without hurting anybody. Allan then decided they should further think about the hazards of the relationship, which Candy reluctantly agreed to. Soon, Candy wrote her intentions on why she wished to pursue the affair, while Allan also listed his reasons. The pair then began calling one another and meeting for lunch regularly. One day, Candy told Allan they had to copulate soon so that he could fulfill her expectations of him in bed. However, Allan thought they needed one more strategy session, so Candy suggested they do it over at her house during lunch. Later that night, Betty asked Allan if he had thought of potential baby names. However, he had forgotten and promised he'd think about it. The following day at Candy's house, they discussed their affair's rules and decided to begin the relationship on the 12th of December. Later, Candy snuggled up to Pat while he watched TV. However, the latter is more interested in the show, which upsets Candy. On the 12th of December 1978, Candy prepared for their meetup. After dropping Jenny off at school, she spotted Betty and felt a bit unnerved. However, Candy still went forth with the plan, as she went home to prepare their meal. She then drove to the motel and called Allan to inform him of her location. While waiting for Allan's arrival, Candy set up lunch and changed into her nightgown. Allan then arrived and saw her, remarking how beautiful she looked. The two then talked about the motel they're staying at, stating they'd never noticed it before, and Candy described its existence vividly. Seeing Allan in awe of her words, Candy told him she had taken creative writing classes. Allan then cited he would love to read her work, flattering Candy. Moments later, the pair shared a kiss, but Allan pulled away. Candy realized Allan had never experienced a French kiss before and assured him he'd enjoy it. After they made love, she asked if Allan was okay. Allan stated that he was and claimed that their lovemaking was wonderful. Candy suddenly remembered that they should always shower after their act so they wouldn't smell like each other. She then told him that it was amazing and kissed him. In the bathroom, Candy was giddy with excitement while showering. In the present, an anxious Candy washes off the blood from her body. 2 years ago, Allan disrupted Candy's train of thought, informing her he was due back at work. Candy suggested they shower together, and he happily agreed. During Jackie's last day at church, the choir sang to her, while Candy and Allan sneakily glanced at each other. A tearful Jackie then told the congregation it won't be the last time she'll hear the choir sing, and introduced the new minister, Pastor Ron Adams, and his wife Mary. Afterward, Betty complained about Ron when Don Crowder reminds her that Jackie wasn't fired and leaving the church was her choice. Jackie approached them, so Candy informed her that Betty believed she was forced out of the church due to her divorce. Exasperated, Jackie instructed them to get along with the new minister because the choir's support is necessary for the church to work. Betty then caught Candy and Allan staring at each other and called them out, claiming they were chuckling because they knew that Jackie was fired. However, the pastor asserted that she left because the bishop called her to teach at Midwestern University. One day, Candy drove to the motel across the first place they stayed, claiming it was $6 cheaper. They had lunch, and Candy asked if his wife was okay. Allan revealed that Betty doesn't like change and that she told Ron to leave after he criticized their Christmas decorations. Allan admitted that his wife had postpartum depression after their first child, and claimed it was flaring up again with her second pregnancy. Allan then felt terrible, but Candy insisted they're good people and should stick to their plan not to hurt their significant others. After they made love, the two showered together. The following day, Candy recounted her experience to Sherry, admitting she liked feeling adored. Her best friend shared that she felt a bit jealous of their affair, but warned Candy to be careful. Elsewhere, the Gores got an ultrasound, where the doctor advised Betty that she needed to pay attention to her hypertension and stress, as it could affect their baby. Upset, Betty felt like she wasn't doing anything right, but Allan explained that the doctor was only looking after her and the child's well-being. Soon, Candy baked a batch of cookies and gave it to Allan on their next hookup, who appreciated it. Candy then tried to pry more information about him, and Allan relented, sharing that he was the Kansas State Grand Champion in the wheat competition, which made the former giggle. Candy then asked for more details about Betty's affair, and Allan explained it was because she learned that he was going away for 6 weeks, and it broke her. They had lived near a state college then, so she slept with one of the students but immediately confessed. Allan believed Betty confessed to punish him for traveling and to control his behavior. Seeing him down, Candy asked Allan if he liked roller coasters. The couple then go to a local fair to ride one and spend the rest of the day enjoying each other's company. Soon, Betty held a baby shower at her house, where Candy gifted her a onesie. Days later, Candy and Allan hooked up again. At church, the choir grew bored with Ron's sermon, and Betty cleared her throat loudly to catch his attention. However, the pastor was unfazed and continued with his preaching. Later, the affair partners talked about how terrible their new minister was at preaching, with Allan adding that Betty was so unnerved that she wanted to quit the church and go back to Wiley. Allan then told Candy that he had to postpone their meetups for the next few weeks because Betty might go into labor soon. Candy then confessed that she was starting to develop feelings for him and thought about him too much. Although Allan didn't admit to the same predicament, he still wanted to continue their affair. One day at dinner, Candy told Pat that the Gores were planning to leave because Betty couldn't stand Ron. Her husband also shared that the new pastor told him to stop using puppets during the children's sermons. At church, Betty and Carol Crowder continued to complain about Ron. However, Candy defended him, stating she promised Jackie she would help the young minister. They arrived at the council meeting, where Betty immediately bombarded Ron with all their complaints, citing the church had become dull because of him. Candy brought up Betty's behavior in her next meetup with Allan, but the latter reassured her that his wife would improve after the pregnancy. Candy then disclosed that she had fallen in love with him but was afraid to hurt Pat and Betty. However, Allan wanted to continue their affair, stating that their relationship helped him deal with Betty, much to Candy's dismay. After Betty gave birth to Bethany, Allan and Candy resumed their hookups. In July 1979, the Gores held a party at their place. Allan and Candy met outside, where the latter noticed that Betty was doing great these days. Allan then informed her that he had to delay their hookup as he'll be going to Kansas next week to introduce his daughter to his in-laws. Even though Candy was disappointed, she agreed and tearfully looked at Allan embracing his wife. In the days following their departure, Candy became sad and restless. After Allan returned, the two immediately made passionate love. Later that night, Pat stared at Candy and told her he sometimes forgot how beautiful she was. Elsewhere, Betty tried to initiate copulation with Allan, but the latter stops her, stating he's too tired to do it. Hurt, Betty turned away from him and cried, believing he was no longer attracted to her. The following day, Allan met with Candy at a diner and recounted what happened between him and Betty. He felt remorseful for rebuffing her that he wanted to end things with Candy, but the latter became hysterical. Allan explained that they'd only been using each other to fill the gaps in their problematic relationships, and that it wasn't right anymore. Allan then pleaded that they take a break so they could reflect on their affair, as he didn't want to hurt anyone. However, Candy doesn't take it lightly. A few weeks later, they attended the groundbreaking ceremony of the church's new facility. In September 1979, Allan called Candy out of the blue to share that ever since he rejected his wife, she became depressed. Allan also informed her that he had taken up a new job at telecommunications, so he'd travel less often and wanted to talk to her face to face. Soon, they meet up at a restaurant and had lunch together. Although Allan didn't want to end the affair, he wanted to work out his marriage, stating he'd attend a marriage encounter to help him and his wife mend their relationship. However, Candy was afraid he'd stop things if he participated in the counseling retreat, but Allan was adamant about going. He then asked if she could watch their kids while they were away, and she tearfully agreed. In October, Allan and Betty attend the marriage encounter at a hotel. Elsewhere, Candy voiced her jealousy at Betty for getting Allan's attention. To console her, Sherry suggested they do a girls' night out and try the new club that had just opened. In one exercise, the couple exchanged notebooks where they were tasked to write about what they wanted to achieve during the retreat. Allan became aware of Betty's insecurities with lovemaking and asserted that he had always desired and loved her. Afterward, the couple made love. At the nightclub, Candy and Sherry danced the night away. The following day, the couple renewed their vows and rekindled their marriage. Soon, Allan and Betty returned and visited the Montgomerys to get their kids. Betty went over to Candy to retrieve Bethany and shared that the marriage encounter was the best thing that ever happened to them. Allan then approached her, elated that the weekend was better than he imagined, and promised to call her. Shocked, Candy returned to her house and observed the happy couple from the window. After they drove off, Candy went to the kitchen, where she began to grind the meat aggressively.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.